All right, tomorrow is actually June 12th, the Democracy Day, but we will be talking about this ahead of the day. And joining me in the studio to talk about this is political analyst Abdouli, and via Skype, or Zoom rather, MKO Abiola's son, Abdouli Abiola, joins me via Zoom. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning.
All right, let me begin with you, Abdouli, if you can hear me. June 12, 2 years ago, was recognized by the president as a Democracy Day, in which he apologized to your family and also made some emotional-laden speech addressing certain issues for which he said the country will no longer tolerate. When you want to examine or evaluate 2 years afterwards, this June 12th is supposed to be a day of reawakening what democracy stood for, especially the sacrifice your father made. If you want to evaluate how far we have come 2 years after this day was declared, how far would you say Nigeria has come with regards to all that the president said and what your father stood for?
Good morning. Good morning. I hope you guys can hear me. I'm sorry I couldn't be at the studio. I would have really loved to be there, but I'm actually in Abuja right now. First of all, thank you for having me. And yes, you said 2 years after the investiture, where do we find ourselves? I think Nigeria is a totally different place. You know,
all right. Since
after
we're having
the investiture, we had a series of events that had expressions from the populace. Well, these were expressions by the populace, and these expressions were people telling the government how they felt. You know, I think it's important that we understand that democracy is just not a one pill solves all kind of thing. It's a situation where we start to discuss the situations and the different things that are, like, you know, plaguing the nation, and also in that discussion, like, seeking for solutions. I actually believe that Nigeria and our future is not something that we should be playing with. You know, it's not something that you just talk about in passing, because this Nigeria is not just me. Nigeria is me, my father, my son, his daughter, her son, her daughter. So it's a compilation of different Abiolas, different Abduls. Because Abdul is Abdul today.
Right. We're having some network challenges there, but we'll come back, take the conversation to the studio now, where we have Abdouli in the studio. The same question I would like to, ask you, talking about the spirit that June 12th had, what it stood for. A lot of persons are saying that that spirit is no longer in Nigeria, looking at what is going on across the country. And I am wondering for you, what do you think? Because Abiola stood for hope. Can we say we still have that hope as it stands in the country? A lot of people seem to have lost hope. Perhaps that is why they're agitating. We're seeing these agitations. But for you, how would you juxtapose what the spirit of June 12 stood for and what we're seeing now?
Well, June 12 basically is about the people, and they congregated on a day, and unfortunately that mandate was not allowed to see the light of the day. Yeah. But when you talk about hope is a continuous thing. Human want is insatiable.
Absolutely.
The more you get to a certain height, you want to get to the next height and all of that. But just like what Abdullah said, the Nigerian project is a continuous project. People must continue to discuss about how they want to be governed and how they want to appropriate the resources that belong to all, and how they want to be treated, and all of these things. So we must not foreclose the avenue, opportunity for discussion. In many countries of the world, the more they develop, the more they espouse their constitution to accommodate a lot of reasoning and development. I mean, whoever thought that America today can embrace people of different sexual orientation and all of that. That was a taboo before, but as humans continue to journey in this mundane, things will continue to take shape.
Now, you mentioned the issue of people must continue to discuss and the Constitution to accommodate reasoning in terms of it being people reflecting, being people-centric. Now, these are two issues that a lot of Nigerians have raised, saying that the aspect of discussions, we have had conversations, not once, not twice. What has that resulted to? What has that changed? There were documents outside of these conversations, for instance, the 2014 confab. What has that changed? Is conversation the way to go? We saw the Southwest governors, the governors of the South, 17 of them met and came up with a resolution. And we saw the response that came afterwards. Is conversation really, having a discussion, really the way to go? And if we are to have a discussion, in what way?
If you listen to the exclusive interview by one TV station, I don't want to mention their name
Absolutely.
here, the president did say that the state governors have the power to control whatever happens within their domain. He did also say that the issue of security starts from the local government, that they have the Security Council meeting there, then it resonates to the state. I remember when I was chairman of a local government in Amuwodofe, every month we have the Security Council meeting. And in that meeting, you have the Army, the Navy, the DSS, the police, the NSCDC, the immigration, the royal fathers, the religious leaders, and some community leaders. We look at what is happening. And we nip it before it gets out of way and all of that. I believe that is what the president was trying to say yesterday, that you can't continue to run to the center for every issue before it gets to crescendo. Now,
but we always hear these people.
Listen,
All right,
you were saying that they've been having discussion. Yes, but this discussion also need to be affirmed. If I have a discussion with someone on how we want to secure this environment, and the people have voted for me as the chief security officer of this place, yes, I know the police are not directly in my custody. There are other ways I can take action. And I will take action in accordance with the Constitution and all of that. But if it now goes out of way, like it has been happening in Nigeria, yes, we go to the center. But what we are saying is that before it gets to that level of not being controllable, how far have we gone? But we must continue to discuss.
But the conversation where I was headed is the fact that you see these people that you mentioned, talking about governors and all, saying that they are not empowered to addressing this thing.
They are empowered.
They cannot call the commissioner of police to take action. They cannot make certain decisions. You hear them say that. The local governments that you mentioned, a lot of them have said that they are also not empowered to do anything.
Let me give you an example of two states.
Right.
One, Ekiti State. As controversial as Governor Fayose was then, when he took action, we did not hear of any farmer header crisis. No Abuja could stop him, but he took that action. When the governor of Ondo State took action, they were ranting all over the place, but he took that action.
Right.
And he stamped down the issue. When the Southwest governor met and took action, they were ranting in some parts of the presidency, but they took action. And the heaven have not fallen. And I think from the statement of the president, if you listen to it very well and you can interpret it, he has shown his support behind the action they took, that they have the right to take such action in order to maintain security at your place. And I've often said, we should not follow the ranting of some people within the presidency. We should only listen to what the president say. It might take time for him to talk. I'm not here to defend him.
Right,
but
because we rarely hear him talk.
But I don't care of what he says. I care of what the Constitution, as incoherent as the Constitution is, says that the security lies more in the hands of the custodian of power, either in local government or state. But the major thing is, how can we pull this strength together for us to have a common goal? And the Southwest governors have done that. The Southern governors have done that. So let's see any police officer that will move out of way to say that what they have said to secure their area will not come to stay.
All right, we have Abdouli back online. And I just want to throw to you some of the things that Abdouli in the studio has said, talking about having a discussion to move us forward. I wonder if you think that at this point where we're seeing agitations across the country, that is what we need to move us forward.
Agitations for agitation's sake is pointless. Agitation geared towards making an improvement is what it's about. I encourage people to actually protest. I encourage people to express themselves. I want people to say how they feel. Let the government know how they feel. My issue is we should not be violent. My father was a very strict on this rule. He didn't want violence. Our lives are important. We need to understand that. I believe that the conversation that is being had today is different from the conversation that was being had yesterday. Now we're questioning the Constitution itself. We need to look at the problem from the source. If you have an issue and you just treat the symptoms, you are never going to get any results. It's going to keep recurring. We need to treat the cause of the problem. The Constitution is a contraption. Nothing you can do with this Constitution. We don't even know what is in that Constitution ourselves. But in the beginning, it says we the people. Which people? That is why I'm happy about these conversations. We need to ask the people who were in power then what exactly they put us in. They're still alive. But those conversations can be done civilly. It doesn't have to be done by shooting a helpless woman on her way to the embassy. When people use violence to try to prove a point, you never get the solution you want. You see, people thought Abiola was out for himself. He was out for Nigeria. I am out for Nigeria. We all need to be out for one thing, which is Nigeria. Once we can decide that Nigeria is worth saving, then we can start to work on how to save Nigeria. I'm really impressed with the youth. The NSAS thing, I never thought it was possible in Nigeria. But seeing that with my own two eyes, now I can believe that the youth are ready to take over this power. Most of the people who put us in this situation today were not 80 years old, 70 years old. It started, they were 35 when they were in power. How come the highest, the average age to be in office now is like 60 and up? Who made that rule? You see, what I'm trying to explain to my Nigerian, to my fellow brothers and sisters, because that's what we are. We're brothers and sisters. What I'm trying to explain to you is that speak, express yourself, but we should do it constructively. Destroying public property is not going to get us to the promised land. What we do is we express ourselves peacefully, smiling when we say we don't agree with what you say. We don't say we don't agree and be angry about it. No. Just because I disagree with you doesn't mean we can't be friends. And that was exactly what my father was trying to tell the General Babangidas of this world, the General Abdul Salams of this world. That's what he was trying to tell them. He said to them, he said, we are friends. You're my brother. I know you. I love you. But Nigeria cannot continue like this. And they were born. They didn't hear him. They thought, mine is again. Abiola to bury. Now look at where we are today. But we're having the conversation. I believe when we are ready to handle this, the contraption of a constitution should be addressed. We need a people's constitution. Then, and
that is where my next question lies, Abdouli, if I may cut into your line of thought. We have seen, in fact, we held a public hearing or where people could make contributions recently to the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. And the question on the lips of a lot of persons is, we've had the first, the second, the third, the fourth, and now the fifth. All of the amendments that we have seen, why is it not still reflecting the agitations of the people? Why is it not quelling the agitations of the people? Are we confident that the fifth one is going to address the issues that we are seeing around?
I just said it. I just answered that question. We are treating the symptoms. When something happens, we cannot fix something that is already broken. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So you want us to have a new constitution? Is that what you're saying?
I want us to have a Nigerian people's constitution. That is it. Simple. It's not a new constitution. I don't know what it is. We need to discuss this as a people, as a one people. You see, look, let me give you an example. You see, we're not discussing restructuring, or we're discussing so many, the policy right now is so tense. We need to understand that if you just keep addressing one line, if it's a one-liner, every time it's a one-liner, what we need to do is ask the makers of the constitution. We did not make it. How am I going to fix something that I don't know how they even brought it up? Okay, you build 10 stories. I was not the architect. I didn't know what kind of cement or what they use. And then I want to come and fix it. There's nothing you can do about something that's already broken.
All right, let's bring the conversation to the
Constitution was a contraption.
All right. Abdouli, I want you to react to what he has said, because some have said we should return to the system that promoted regionalism. Others have said we need a new constitution. And some have said, like I put across to him, the amendments we have made is not really the issue. That the constitution in itself is not the challenge, but the implementation of all that the constitution has laid out. For instance, we saw recently the JUSUN just called off their strike after 2 months. But in the constitution, we saw that they had the autonomy, financial autonomy that they were clamoring for, but that the governors were not allowing that pull through. And so that is one example a lot of persons have pointed out. And so I want to ask you this question: if the constitution is really the root of the challenges we are facing now that we need to address, as Abdouli is saying, or it is we the people that need to look inward and decide that we need to make things work?
Well, you've answered your question from your narrative. I was privileged to work with Chief Anthony Enahoro of Blessed Memories very closely, and Dr. Bekorans of Kuti while they were alive. And intermittently, Professor Wole Soyinka will come as I think he was the vice chairman of PRONACO. Dr. Becker was deputy, if I have not mixed it. And I was mobilization and liaison officer. Baba Mojola was secretary. These issues were discussed. While Abdul was talking, something quickly came up my head, and while you were talking, I also saw that you have answered it from the second word in your last statement. That what do we need to do about the people? There are two structures on ground that can fix this thing. The people and their representative. The people will discuss on what they want. The people will elect their representative. Their representative, with the way our democracy is structured, are the ones that will implement it. But where the problem is, what is the quality of the people you elect to represent you?
Right.
That is the missing gap. As controversial as the document is, the Nigerian Constitution, the misdemeanor in it is that the people did not make the document. But some interest group amongst the people wrote that document that does not reflect the total whims and caprices of the people. Now, to get it right, let's take the document back to the people. The people discuss on how they want the document to be.
Which is what they've just done.
I'm coming.
Right.
No matter the confab, I still have the pro-narco draft constitution.
I'm talking about the public hearing.
The public hearing, which they are doing. But there is a missing gap again.
Really?
Before going to the public hearing, each of those representatives, did they go back to their constituency to discuss on what they want to implement or how they are going to implement it? No matter what they bring forward is their individual thought. It is not the agreement of the people. They ought to first go back to their constituents, discuss amongst their constituents. Now, within their constituents, also there is a gap. Now, the gap, the bridge to that gap is their political parties. They first meet their political parties first. They have a charter, they have a manifesto, and it is presumed they have an ideology.
Right.
Now, you discuss. In our party, this is our view for this new constitution. Now, the party itself, before they can arrive on their conclusion, they derive their power from the people, from members of their party. They should have discussed that matter within the people and come up with resolutions. The resolution is put in the party manifesto. The party brings back their representatives, elected representatives, and they discuss. And there you have a bloc that will now go to advocate what the people have discussed and giving the mandate to the party. The representative of the party now come to discuss at whatever session. Now, numbers come in. The party, do they have the number to get to the National Assembly? Because you don't want to convoke a sovereign national conference. What you want to do is a constitutional amendment. Now, they sit down. Do we have the number to push this through? If we don't have the number, how do we convince other smaller parties to side us in this position? Now we have the greater number. That greater number now push their final document and do the amendment. As long as you don't get these steps right, no matter what you put there, you will keep having the agitation that you're having. The MASOB will keep, or IPOB will keep with the agitation. The Oodua Republic that they are initiating will keep with the agitation because they are not part of it. The Fulani headsmen or the headers will continue to stand on their position. You need to get the steps right. If you don't get it right, we will still be rolling. And finally, your elected representatives, do they have the capacity to implement the agreement? If you agree for free education, how do you fund it? You would have discussed it.
Right.
That will solve the question of ASU and other union groups. If you agree for free qualitative health systems, how do you fund it? You need to build human capacity. You need to improve your education. You need to woo people from the diaspora to have confidence in the security and the template that you have put there. So these elective representatives are the key people that you need to get right. If you get them right, as poo-poo as the constitution is now, Nigeria can still be better. How can you phantom somebody coming up and telling you, I'm sacking 7,000 workers, I don't know how to create opportunity because I can't pay them? It doesn't make sense. You are elected there to think out of the box. If you don't have the right thinking, you go back to the people, keep discussing with them, they give you solutions. You come to implement it.
Right.
If you don't do that, your corruption stream will continue. Because you have people that cannot think, people that cannot implement, people that cannot link to implement. That is the problem. Not only the Constitution.
Abdouli, let's quickly get your final word on this issue before we move on, because our time is running out.
Like I said, nothing, God doesn't give you anything you can't handle. Very simple. The Nigerian consciousness, pride is being reawakened. We are yearning for good governance. When people are actually requesting or yearning for something, what you do is government is supposed to respond. I, after the investiture, believed that the only way we could start to heal all these wounds was by using the law, the court system, to bring justice back to the people. Now, seriously, if after Buhari had entered office, I started to see people like, who had maybe gone foul of the law being prosecuted. When we hear headsmen somewhere, the military is there to let them know that they're going against the law. Once we can start to show signs of progress in the sense that when somebody does something wrong, they get punished. It's very simple. You will not have a situation where people start to think of Yoruba nation, Igbo nation. It's because the injustice is becoming too much. Look at me, for instance. My mom, she was shot in the head in 1996. The people who killed her are still not being, nothing has been done. In fact, absolutely nothing has been done.
Justice being one key issue there that Abdouli has raised. Your final thoughts on this?
Well, my final thoughts is that we must not close the door of discussion. We must continue to discuss. And beyond discussion, political parties must look for ways to listen to their people and get heads onto their system so that we can resolve all these contradictions.
All right, political analyst Abdouli Adewale and MKO Abiola's son, Abdouli Abiola, thank you, gentlemen, for your time on the program.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.